Michael Bay is often considered like the antichrist of cinema, just one of the worst, most evil, fascist, sexist, imperialist, idiotic, just unemotional robots to just destroy cinema in the name of kind of like this weird patriotic capitalism and conspiracy-minded paranoid fantasy about male dominance and all that stuff. But I think that's looking at Bay a little bit too much from the lens of the left, frankly. I do think that Bay is problematic, but I don't even think he believes a lot of what he does. And Roland Emmerich has always been considered basically Bay's ape. He's just a really stupid version of what he does. And I can't express how disappointed I was with Independence Day and how much I really hoped when I first saw that this isn't just going to be what I think it is, but it turned out to be even worse. Instead of just a knockoff of Spielberg and E.T., it managed to be even more stupid, cynical, and dumb, and just poorly written than I could ever imagine. And there are so many little good moments in Independence Day. It just makes me mad because if it was just a better director, this thing could have actually been a minor classic instead of just a wasted opportunity. But thankfully, White House Down, it's not a full redemption, but it's a really nice pivot of Emmerich. So we get a basically die-hard plot where terrorists take over the White House and blow stuff up. And it's amazingly charming. It's really sincere. It's got some great starring performances with Tatum and Fox. Nothing new from either one, though I think Tatum does not get enough credit as a comedic actor. I know he's a beefcake, and I know the female audience just wants him to take off his shirt and all that stuff, but the guy can really act, and this really shows off his comedic chops, and it is very, very well done. Like, the story itself is nonsense, and the plot is clearly beyond ridiculous, though, unfortunately, as recent events show, yeah, you could probably attack the White House, and you probably get very far before you get stopped. But, for what it is, it was actually really nice. And it's funny that it's sort of compared a lot to Olympus, but Olympus is genuinely Bayish. It has, like, real Islamic phobia. It has kind of a real fascist subtext. And if it wasn't for Ashley Judd, I just wouldn't really watch the thing at all. But I like supporting her, and if you do rent or see it, that's helping her out. So, I'd recommend Olympus just to help out Ashley. But that felt to be a really obnoxious piece. It's still fun and silly, but it's got really an acidic touch to it. This does not. This is a really big candy bar you can just stuff in your mouth and you enjoy it. And it's so technically well done because one of the great things that Emmerich has always done is blow up the White House. And so he just explodes building with its own preciseness. And there's even a kinetic flare when they use the helicopters. So even though this is kind of a paint-by-numbers thriller, you can kind of see most of the revelations, though some parts I was really surprised by, like some of the minor characters and the way they shift and turn. I was like, whoa, that was really interesting. So Jason, James Woods, Maggie Gyllenhaal, there's just a lot of great stuff with Maggie and the other people. I actually just wish we had a little bit more Gyllenhaal and a little bit of more of the other minor characters, but that's a kind of small lament. I think overall this is a very strong film for what it is. It's not a great film unto itself, but just as an enjoyable flick, you really can't beat this. This is a really well done, well paced, well acted. I'm like, again, if it wasn't Roland Emmerich, I would be like, wow, this is surprising. Who made this? And it is him. And it is very tongue-in-cheek because you might think, he's taking himself a little bit too seriously, but I think if you watch it a couple of times, you will catch on. Yeah, he's very much winking at the audience. Like, when somebody just grabs a bazooka, it's like, okay, this is getting a little bizarre. And there are, like, minor things you'll notice, like, how Jamie Foxx already has sneakers on. And you're like, why would the president just have magically sneakers when he needs to start running? And it's like, okay, so it makes a few leaps into pure fantasy, but I didn't mind. I think Roland Emmerich is just mostly having fun. And it does actually have a substantive kind of message about tolerance and anti-racism and all that. Again, with Emmerich, I'm always a little bit unsure. I do think with his Tomorrow film, he was being actually very serious about how the third world and the first world need to understand each other more. And unfortunately, that's very relevant with a lot of these crises with immigrants and refugees and the way there's a backlash against them. So whatever you want to think about, Emmerich has never been stupid. So I think him being Michael Bay's ape is a really unfair charge. He's a very talented filmmaker. It's just he's very derivative and, just very conventional. And that's fine. That's his thing. And he does get into some really weird reactionary territory because even though Emmerich himself is homosexual, he does placate the right-wing audience with a lot of bizarre fascist imagery, and it's just kind of unnerving when he does that. I guess he's just trying to work something out with his own mentality or whatever, but I find it mostly in bad taste. But this is refreshingly free of all that. Yes, it is technically a bunch of fascist terrorists, but they're so ridiculous and with their cartoon logic that you can't take them too seriously. But despite that, it seems like a contradiction. They are actually pretty reasonable, and you understand why they're doing what they're doing. So even when the thing just goes completely off the rails, you're never like angry with the film. You're like, oh, okay, you thought it was one film, but it's really another kind of film. And again, it's not a brilliant kind of subversion of genre. It's not a Steven Soderbergh film by any means, or a Hitchcock film, or a Stanley Kubrick film, but it does actually have a little bit of a Kubrickian edge to it, and I appreciated that. So it does seem like Emmerich is kind of trying to mature his style. Again, this is rare. A lot of his other films are, yeah, ridiculously stupid and just so upfront about what they're trying to do. There's no real excitement in discovering what he's up to. But this is actually, I think, a real change of pace, and I would highly recommend this. This is actually fairly good fun and really, really well done. It's really well directed. I think he did a lot with the script, and he's so precise with so many little things, from the cameos to the minor performances to the major performances. Again, you kind of wish more from the minor characters. I wish Richard and Maggie had a little bit more to do, but overall, I was surprised. This is an extremely strong film. Again, you'd have to rate it fairly. It's only a 7 out of 10, but it's a strong 7 out of 10, and it probably gives it a. I'm not giving it due. It's really pretty well done altogether. All right, this has been a review of White House Down by Roland Emmerich. Thanks for listening.